Well, hello there, family. Excuse me, it is infinity here. It is 9:21 on the 21st, so it's 21:21 on the 21st of May 2020. And of course, I just had a major aha moment at just a minute ago. Oh my God. And then I look at my phone and it says 21/20/21, and I'm like, are you effing kidding me right now? Seriously? Of course you're putting the sandwich all together and ready to cut into it and take a bite right at this time. Of course. It's always like this. But every single time, like, times line up with me. Like, today I walked into the bedroom and I shit you not, the clock on my Roku said 034056. 3:40:56. And I went, yeah, ha, that's funny. And I had walked in there to sit down to put on my shoes because I was like, okay, time to go to the post office. And it was 3:4:56 on my, and that's how it is for me. Like, I'll walk into the kitchen, and this is something you can do. It's kind of fun. Some people say it would drive them crazy, but I dig it because I don't need to see the time in multiple places the way the actual time is. And I was guided maybe a year ago now, to, on my stove clock, have it just at a totally different random time. And it kind of tends to do it on its own with just the, like, power going out or whatever, however often that it might. And then just going, okay, and then just setting it right where it is and not putting the actual time on my stove. And I'll walk into the kitchen all the time. I have so many pictures of my stove clock because it's just silliness. What I see on there, I'm just like, it is so much fun. So I really suggest that you try that to get a different look at numbers coming at you than the actual time. Just like all different numbers can come at you that have nothing to do with the actual time. They're just numbers, like addresses, license plates, receipt number. Oh, receipts are like numbers porn. If you're watching numbers, oh, holy moly. If I see somebody throw away a receipt without looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, can I have it? Can I look at it, please? Because it's just like, there's so many juicy bits on a receipt of numbers that it's just, especially once you start really paying attention to it, it's just ridiculous. So anyhow, at 9:25, bear with me because it's quite a doozy, this one. It's quite a doozy. Where to begin? Holy shit. Let's listen to some music for a second. Let me gather my thoughts. Holy moly. Okay, so that's music I recorded, and that is my last podcast, by the way, the meditation music. So if you like it, go take a listen. But finish this first, I guess, because you're here first, I guess. Even though that one was there first. I don't know. Do whatever the hell you want to do. Ow. Okay, so I have been dealing with a thing going on with my body for about, I have to look because I'm really bad at remembering time. Because time is such a mindfuck. But anyhow, I think it's been about a week. It could be 2. I would have to look. I tend to, if you've listened to my podcast before, and one recently, I don't remember which one, probably the Empath one. Which one was that? What the heck is it? Oh, Empath and Energy. There it is. Archangel Oracle. Episode 79. I'm pretty sure it's that episode. Hi, kitty. Where, now I forget what I was going to say. Oh my God. I can't with this. I hope this is not your first podcast with me because I'm having a hard time, like, getting my shit together here. But it's, I mean, plus I'm not gonna lie, I did just get really stoned, but I thought I was done for the day. Number 1. Number 2, it's because I got stoned that I'm doing this podcast, that I had this major, like all of it slammed together for me finally, because I've been trying to figure this thing out for especially the last couple days, but it's been kind of ramping up. And what it is like welts on my body, and like bites, like you would swear they're mosquito bites or really gnarly flea bites, and they burn. And you would, by looking, they don't look like as bad as a bee or a wasp sting, because they don't get as big and as puffy and as red. They're smaller, but they're perfectly round, and they're raised, and they get really burning and itching, and I've been trying to figure out what the hell this is, because I'm usually so super healthy for so long now that when anything gets funky with my body, I'm like, what is happening? And I feel great, like emotionally, energetically. I am just like doing so many things, so motivated, so focused, like prioritized. I'm so in line with my guides and guardians and angelics, brothers and sisters, spirit tribe, whatever, just the whole slew of them. And I'm like, help me with this, understand what the F is going on. And different things are coming to me, and I'm getting just a whole mixed bag of different things. And then the last few days, and even before that, there was a lot of, if you follow the podcast, I started doing it kind of started like right, I guess maybe a few days before I started doing these dailies. And I started getting these bite welt things, but I just I was like, where is this? I would just be sitting here in my living room, and I'll tell you this right now, we don't have fleas. We don't have I'm itching and scratching and on fire more than any of my animals combined. We don't have a single flea. None. And we won't. It's just where we live. They're just not it's just ever since I've moved up here and I've lived here, no fleas. And it just boggles my brain. But we really don't have grass, and it could be a temperature thing. I mean, I know because, well, that's not true, because the groomers around here talk about fleas, and they've assumed that my animals have had fleas. I'm like, they don't have fleas. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, they don't. And they're like, huh. But we just don't. I don't have carpet. We don't have grass. We're in the mountains. Could be right where I'm at. This is kind of an enchanted spot, so I'm really grateful for it, because I don't have to deal with flea bullshit in any way, shape, or form, even as natural as I go about doing it. So sorry, these things are really distracting. They're very itchy and burning. So anyway, it's been going on for a while, and I don't have bed bugs. It's not a bug thing. Trust me. It's not a bug thing at all. It's internal. It's energy. And they're in very specific places too. And I even had, like, I started for, it happens, I would say maybe 50% of the time, where it's mirrored from one side on my body and the other side, like really close. And sometimes it's like freakishly on point, like it's exactly there on this arm and it's exactly there on this arm. Like, I even took a picture, but they were like on the inside of my elbows, and they were exactly in the same spot. They looked exactly the same. It was like a fucking mirror image of these two ginormous welts, like I was stung by a bee on both sides of and they just popped up. And they're on my ribs, and they're on the top of my knees, the back of my knees. They're on the tops of my shoulders, right around my armpits. They're on like around my pelvis. They're in all the hot spots, basically. Got one on my chest earlier. It just popped up. And it's just this, you would think that it was a bug bite, but there's no entry point. There's no, like, you can always see, like, oh, that's where it got in. I don't have that. And like, what usually works with a bug bite, what if I do get bit by or stung or whatever, I've always had this thing where I dig my nail in, and I do this like crisscross thing really super deep, and I squeeze it. I like create like a bigger hole, like try to get it like right there, and then I squeeze it really hard, and I try to get all the venom out or whatever that causes that histamine reaction. I try to get as much of that out, and I clean it out, and that usually works, but it doesn't work on these things. It doesn't. And it's almost like it's not cool. So it can be really distracting. There's been like 2 nights, I mentioned it in a podcast a couple days ago, that I was really itchy, but I didn't get into details. But that was because I was still trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I thought, is there some crazy dark magic psychic attack going on? Because I have been under attack before, and I put myself out there. And even though I'm very protected and very guided, there are people that are and groups of people that are very, very, strong. And so I've been trying to figure that out, and I didn't want to talk about it until I figured what the heck is going on. And I keep getting, not mixed messages, but just confusing messages. And the only thing that's helped is when I get in the shower and I take a bath, and I'm in there for a while, and I do this whole soak and healing thing, and I clear a bunch of energy. then it's like I can barely see them. They're there still, but I can barely see them. And I mean, some I've scratched so like a hole into myself, and then that gets really irritated, and then it's just this ongoing thing because it's actually not a bite. It's fucking energy. And I'm like, it's it's crazy. So this is the life of a physical empath. Like, be careful what you wish for. If you're like, oh, her abilities are so cool, she can feel what other people feel and heal people and da 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 and all that. Like, yeah, it's very cool, but at the same time, like, I'm so ultra physically empathic and connected and it's so intense, and it's always been like this for me. And I've actually had an experience similar to this, but it wasn't connecting because it wasn't exactly the same. It's not exactly the same in any way, shape, or form, except for it's similar in the sense that my body was having reactions that didn't make sense, but it came on very suddenly, and it was very sharp and very intense, and it felt like I got stung by the biggest bee ever on the back, right on the back of my shoulder, right on my shoulder blade of my rhomboid. And that's always been a hot spot for me, and it is especially for incarnated angelics and also fairies, any winged type souls incarnate. Of course, I learned this after the fact. I had no idea that this was. I was not even on the same planet as this knowledge when it was actually happening to me. It took a while afterwards for me to go, for like all the things to connect and my guides to be able to talk to me in a certain way for me to understand. And even though that's been going on this time around, it's still been very confusing because I'm getting multiple different reasons for what is going on, and it's like, I don't understand. Like, is it psychic attack? Is it an ascension thing? Is it because you can get welts and get like all sorts of things, eruptions in the physical body when you're going through transmutation? And it can also happen if you're under psychic attack, or somebody's doing dark magic, somebody's done like doing voodoo type stuff and they have a voodoo doll type of thing, because that shit is real. And if a person is playing with the dark, and people can get cursed, people can be influenced, people can be targeted, attacked, all sorts of shit. But see, I feel great, so it's like so confusing because when I've been under psychic attack, it's like I'm in bed, I can't with it, like I can't with life. The last thing I'd be doing is going a million miles and just pumping out stuff left and right like I have been. And except for today, time was really weird too today, but and I also went out in public. It was weird. So it's just been really confusing because it's like, yes, it's psychic attack, but it's like, no, it's not. And it's like, well, how can it yes be and no be? I suppose they can go concurrently, but what? I mean, I guess I'm always ascending, and it's pretty intense right now. And if I was under psychic attack, they both could totally be happening. So there we go. And that's not the case, but I'm been trying to juggle this figure it out thing, and I only have me, and if I count the animals, I can talk to them about it, but they're not great at feedback. So there isn't a whole lot I can, like, I just have to figure it out. So I'm sharing this with you guys because I figured it out, and It definitely did take me getting high to be able to get to that place, to be able to see it, though. It's true. It's no joke. Psychedelics really, it really peels back the veil between your own higher self and your guides, your guardians, everybody. It makes it easier to connect. So, I like it for that reason. Plus, it takes the edge off of wanting to strangle people. As much as I love people, it can be difficult. It can be very difficult. So it makes just the medicine go down just a little bit easier. And I am totally fine with, I've always been really open about my partaking of marijuana, and I don't talk about it like crazy because it's whatever. It's crazy where we're at with all that right now in the world, but yeah, so it is what it is. But there are definite times when my guides are like, smoke some weed, we gotta talk, and you gotta understand. And I'm like, all right, happy to oblige. And I always have weed. It's no matter what's going on in my life, I always end up having the best, amazing, most craziest, great deals in the world, and always have weed in one form or another, or multiple. So anyway, that was definitely a trigger to make me go, OMG. And I've been working it out all day. I have been talking to it. I told a friend, and we've been kind of going back and forth about some things. She's like, well, maybe it's psychic attack, you are getting a lot of shit done and putting things out, and I'm like, yeah, that is kind of feel like it, but it feels like not just one person, it feels like a multitude of different fragments of people. It's really confusing. And I'm like, oh, here comes another one, and like another welt would show up. I'm just like, oh my god. And it's just not cool. So it finally comes through at some point earlier today, the remembrance for me, and this one thing that happened that ended up being not a one thing that happened, but an event that's right. I was talking about my my wings, the incident. I don't know where I left off on that. This is just so bizarre. But even for me, I'm just like, right now, just like, seriously. So I also had hives in my mouth. I couldn't eat anything. I could only do a liquid diet, so I was just basically living off of like stuff like Ensure and just any kind of like smoothie drink thing, protein kind of thing I just pounded that shit all day long, basically. because I could not eat. I had hives and welts all in my mouth. It was like I chewed glass or some crazy shit. It was insane. And the doctors were like, well, we guess you got bit by something because of what, but you look at my back where it started, like on the wing part, and there was literally nothing there. There was like, I go, Wah! I'm like freaking out, and my friend comes running over. He's like, what is happening? I'm like, I think I got stung by a bee. He's like, in here, we're in a store. We're in a kid's clothing store, and there was no bees in there. And I'm like, I don't know. It feels like somebody put a cigarette out on my back. Like, what? I go, what does it look like? And because it's so like right in the middle of your back, it's hard to like really like feel, and you're in pain. It really was that intense. It was so painful. I mean, this is like irritating. That was no joke. I mean, I ended up over the course of weeks and months, in the first month, in the ER 5 times. It was so bad. And they were all like, at one point, like acting like I was fucking crazy. Because, and in the ER, because I kept going to specialists and they kept trying to figure out what the hell was going on. They kept deciding, and they were like a dog with a bone with this whole like spider bite or bug bite or some kind of bite thing, even though there was no wound site, none. There was the tiniest like he said there's the tiny, he took a picture, but he tried, which is weird to try to see because I couldn't see. I tried to see it in the mirror, but it was so tiny, the tiniest little red dot. The tiniest. And everybody's just like, that can't be it. And I'm like, well, it's not usually there, but yeah, that's weird. Like, it was just, nobody could understand it. It was so, it felt, and here's how, imagine somebody slicing your back open, pulling back the skin, dumping a whole bunch of red fire ants inside of your back, sewing it up, and just those ants just biting all through. So it would just went down in a straight strip down my back. It wasn't just in one spot. That's where it initially hurt, but it went straight down my back and straight up my back, but it started right there. But it radiated out through my whole body. And there was a couple times where I just kind of collapsed because it was so fucking weird. If I went in the sun, it felt like I was going to catch on fire. Like, everybody laughed that I was like a vampire because I couldn't be. It was the summertime, and it was hot. And if I went in the only place I would run in and out. Like, I could not have the sun touch me. I used an umbrella. I had to be covered. Like, sunscreen was a joke. Like, I had to be covered. I had to be in the shade. It was unbelievable. But I was also in a really intense situation with my friend and his family. I had just discovered that I was an empath, and I had just done this, like, I don't remember right now what, it was some type of soul meditation thing. I don't remember. Meditations are no joke, people, seriously. If you did my meditation that I posted yesterday for cord cutting, you know what I'm talking about. So if you do a real, like, legit meditation, yeah. So I had been meditating, and I had been getting more aware of being an empath and all this stuff, but I didn't connect any of this stuff at the time at all. At all. I didn't know about energy. I hadn't, like, at that point I had healed myself, but I had been doing really great. So this just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, and my friend's like, this is your fibromyalgia. And I'm like, I don't have that shit anymore. And that's not what this is. And he's like, of course it is. And I'm like, it's not. And it wasn't. I mean, it was just like so frustrating. Nobody could unpackage this bullshit box of pain and oh, the first night I couldn't have any clothes on me at all. I had to be totally naked. And I had that one little teeny dot multiplied into a million all over my body, except for my face. It was so bizarre. There were just these tiny little dots everywhere. And if you touched my skin, it was just kind of like this. It felt like you were touching me with fire, and it just radiated out everywhere. That first day was the craziest. But that's not the first time I did ever experience anything really intensely, energetically insane. I have a lot of stories. This was the first time, though, that it was like so. And I had all this crazy shit with fibro, the tingling, the numbing, the pins and needles, all that crazy stuff that people get with fibro. This was not that at all. Like I said, it came on like I was burnt with a cigarette or a cigar or something, and then it just went down in a straight line, and it was like it was eating away at me all the time. And then it just radiated everywhere. It was in my mouth. I was affected by the sun. I mean, it was insane. Seriously. And I'm sure to witness it was just like, what is happening with this person? Oh my God. And so it was the first time that I didn't know, but it was the first time that I had like the energy like ripping out of my winged area. And so for all humans, but especially those who are, like I said, any type of what's known as the winged incarnate or soul, when you're incarnate, it becomes even more active. But any human, so any soul incarnate, but any human you have your spine, also known as your ascension column. And then this is why angelics are known for having wings, is because their energy extends out from that center where your shoulder blades would be, and that energy extends out really, really big and wide. That's what makes the wings of an angelic. They're not actually wings or feathers or anything like that. It's just energy, but it looks like wings because they come out really far like that. And as an incarnate activates, whether they're consciously aware of what's going on or not, and at the time I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know about Ascension. I didn't know about anything. I wasn't connecting things on any level spiritually. I wasn't awoken yet spiritually on that any kind of level. So I had already healed myself from fibro and gone up to higher dimensions and met with the archangels who took me through the healing and what to do and all of that. But that wasn't in any way to me correlating with what was going on with my body. About, when was it? It was around a year later, somewhere in there, I think. It's hard to remember right now. But, and it lasted for months. Like, at first they told me maybe 2 weeks before your body goes through the process of dealing with whatever bit you. And I'm like, you're shitting me. 2 weeks of this, and there's nothing you can do besides give me topicals. And they gave me something else. Oh, I think they gave me steroids, but steroids and me do not mix. So that wasn't going to happen. So it was basically just, deal. And nothing. It was basically nothing. Like I said, over the course of the next, not only, urgent care, and then a couple times to the ER, because it was just so intense, so bad. And I was also taking care of a baby and dealing with a whole blended house and all this craziness going on. But at the same time, I felt, aside from that, like I was like doing okay. Like it was just this thing that was going on with my body, kind of like it is now. Like I'm doing great, I'm fine, I'm on point, I'm killing it, but oh my god, the shit with my body is making life so much more complicated and hard to do stuff. It's getting, like, there was times where it was just so hard to do things. So anyway, it just gradually, very, very slowly, like literally 6 months later, I could still feel the, like, and if I started, I couldn't figure out, like, what, there was times that it would act up more, but if I started touching it, it would get all, like, tingly and burning. And so what was happening is that all this energy was kind of trapped. So it was, like, coming out and activating, and I was upgrading, and all this shit was going on I had no idea about. And I was, like, bearing down, I was, like, blocking it, so it was, like, blocked, and it wasn't, like, coming out. It was super intense, but it was only on the one side. But I'd been having problems with my rhomboid area for a very long time. It was a problem in my life. But that's something that's very common with angelics or other winged type incarnates. It's almost a universal issue. It's kind of like bizarre. Of course, again, I didn't know this at the time. So here we are, nearly 10 years later, and I've got this crazy thing going on with these welts showing up on my body. I mean, they've been on the tops of my fingers, like these little teeny tiny ones right on the tops of my fingers, which is really weird. But for the most part, they've been, like, in the hot zones, like I said, like energetic hot zones. And I just been trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And then the more I talked with my friend today about it, the more I'm like, yeah, this isn't, because she was like almost like really thinking that it was maybe like a psychic attack of some sort or dark magic, and I was just like, no, that is just really not sticking with me. I'm like, they would have to be so powerful, and if they were that powerful and they were affecting me physically, I would feel bad, and I'm not feeling bad. So yeah, it's confusing, but I don't think that's it. And as I'm, like, talking and working it out, I'm remembering the situation that happened that I just told you about, because it just had not correlated to me. And it had been a long time, and it was pretty shitty, and it only comes up now and then, and I try not to think about it too much because it was not a fun time in my life on many levels. so sure. So, it was just kind of comical. Like, if it was a movie, if I, like, sat down with somebody and, like, started going into detail about what was going on at the time, like, point by point, they would be like, this cannot be your life. And I would be like, it is absolutely 100% factual. And you would just be like, there's no way what you're telling me is all true. And I would just be like, it is 100% true. There's other people there too. It's not just like this experience I had out in the desert, you know. Unicorn came and picked me up and there's nobody to corroborate it. No, this craziness of my life is going on around a bunch of people that they were all involved in what was happening. Oh my God. It was really... Oh, and I was dealing with an alcoholic at the same time. And it was getting really, really intense energetically. Like, the friction between my energy and that person's energy was so bad. Because he was so low vibe and I was getting higher and higher in vibration. I was taking care of a baby, which... if you're really open and aware and empathic and you take care and you know babies and take care of, you can just really jive with them. And so you just tend to raise your vibration as you do that. And he was just stressed and pissed and angry about many things in his life and just drinking like a motherfucker. And it was not blending well. So, yeah, that's just like one aspect of it, but it was a really intense time, and my body was doing all this crazy stuff, and it was just, oh gosh, it was crazy. So now I have this thing going on. It started, like I said, about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I would have to look, but there's like these mirrored, like, oh, right here on my knee, right here on my knee, right here on my elbow, right here on my elbow. Oh, over here on my armpit. Oh, right there on my arm. It's just like, that's just weird. I've had a couple, like, but like, not like those things, but a couple of little pimples on my face. But that's just another thing that I deal with like, if it's negative energy coming up, or if I'm around a lot of negative energy, I'll soak that in and transmute it, but it'll come up as acne, like literally like pus. It's that disgusting. That's how physical energy can be. We soak it in to filter it, but it comes out, like the body is like, oh, okay, well, this is pussy, so it'll come out like pus. And it's to show that you're like dealing with this transmutation of energy and you're trying to like regulate, but it's hard sometimes depending on what you're around. And if you're super sensitive, you're going to have these pus pockets. And it could be on your body, it could be on your face, and it's basically negative energy, and it's your body erupting in what's called acne versus what the shit my body is doing right now. It's just a different type of transmutation of energy. This is something that has to do with the cord cutting. And that's just a byproduct of how serious the cord cutting healing is. That my body started to already begin dealing with that well before I got to the actual meditation. Because as I've said, we're in the physical, we're behind from what's going on energetically. And depending on what it is, we can be days or hours or minutes or weeks or years behind the energy that's getting played with in our future. Let's play some music, shall we? Hope you guys like my music. So, oh, God. So the reason why it's been this hodgepodge of reasons is because depending on what it was with the chords that I was working with for myself, and for me it was a more of a Pandora's box. But as you deal with a Pandora's box, and I explained that in the other podcast, so I'm not going to repeat it again. But if you're doing a cord cutting in the kind of a more advanced way, where it's a Pandora's box, where you're dealing with a whole library of like experiences that you've repeated for various reasons, it's that will kind of contribute to there being even more energy to transmute, because it's connected to so many more people, situations, circumstances, timelines, and how the energy just vibrates through all that time and space. And then I'm also, being who I am, what I am, and how I filter energy for the collective, I'm also dealing with being and facilitating and being connected to this healing procedure that I facilitated through the meditation for other people. So, because that's my job as a healer, I feel in my body what other people feel in their body, and sometimes it comes out physically in my body, viscerally, and it's activated by some type of acknowledgement of energy, transmutation, releasement, clearing, cutting of cords, this sort of thing. So, there's a possibility with anybody who does the meditation that they will experience their own type of physical symptoms that are difficult to understand or explain. They could be similar to, or you could think like, oh, these are bug bites, but they're not. Like, where are the bugs at? Like, if that's going on, if you're getting hives, if you're just itchy, tingly, this sort of thing, it's just transmutation of energy. It's the cords, the energy being cut. It's your body healing. It's literally closing off those holes that we talked about in the meditation. It's like having like holes in your gas tank, and then it's closing up those holes, but with the energy, they're still active, and it could be like trying to reattach, and or it could just be like the energy coming up for transmutation and just, the clearing, whatever. Like, there's different things that are going on, but the body is reacting to it, just like the body reacts to everything else. Why we get cancer, diabetes, headaches, whatever. All of it. The body reacts to what's going on energetically. This is just another thing that happens. It's more rare to just, but people just, break out in hives all the time. Like, oh, this, or this is associated with that giving me hives, but it could be beyond that. And sometimes people get hives and they have no idea why. Or a thing gets blamed that has nothing to do with it. It's energy. Like, there's a lot of the time that people get hives, they break out in rashes and that sort of stuff, and they don't understand why. Try to do the figuring it out. Guaranteed, it's some type of energy transmutation going on, or it could be psychic attack. But not usually. Typically, psychic attack will come out in, like, you'll be really tired, confused, have an upset stomach, just be very fatigued, irritable, have a bad attitude, just start being a dick, start talking with a lot more cuss words, just be more angry. It's more like that kind of shit. It's more emotional, spiritual, or you don't give a shit about your body, start treating your body recklessly, but your body doesn't so much like react, except for it could be like with sex, but that's again like more energy. But you could be more sexual, you could be more deviant sexually, if you want to put it that way, tapping into other people's sexual energy, or other people tapping into yours, that sort of thing, because it is in that lower, root chakra, root and or sacral, kind of depending, chakra. So anywho, it finally clicked for me that it was like, oh my God, like as I'm thinking about working out and, just pulling all the pieces apart and putting them back together and seeing it from different angles and remembering what happened so many years ago. And I was like, oh, and today I was super sensitive to the sun. Yeah, very much so. More than seemed normal. But I was still working it out. I was wearing really thick pants. And I was like, these pants are really, really, really hot. And I'm burning up and I can't sit. I literally couldn't. My dog is looking. I'm like, let's go inside. She's like, what? Because that's just not like me. To not want to sit out there longer than 10 minutes or if that. But I was so not comfortable. It was just really hot in the sun. And it's not that hot here. It's not even 78. So, yeah. I mean, not that the sun isn't intense and it wouldn't, feel hot and warm and eventually be like, okay, I can't sit out here anymore. But it was just a minute or two and I'm already like, ow, this is really burning me. And that's just crazy. I mean, not crazy, but just not, it doesn't line up with the reality, So, and there's something about the sun, the vibration or the frequency of the light and the light hitting me when I'm going through this ascension and healing and transmuting for other people. So that's definitely a thing. And if you do the meditation, or if you've done the meditation, you know that at the healing temple, there was many of us healers there. So it's just a thing. And because I was facilitating it, I'm the facilitating point of entry healer of, so it's all connected. And so it started before the actual, it's not like it just began when I did the meditation, but it started a few days or a couple weeks before, but not nearly as intense as it is today. And I just posted that meditation yesterday. So, and I just wasn't connecting this at all. It didn't take me that long. It really just took me, 24 hours, I guess, to figure this out. Once I did the meditation and things really getting intense. I mean, so much so that it was just to be getting validated and told by my guides that as more people are doing the meditation, there's more of this going on. It's just kind of like levels and layers of it happening right now for me and for other people. So I have to manage that. Now that I figured it out and I get what they were saying, I mean, sometimes the messages I get are so clear, it's as though I'm picking up a phone and somebody's talking to me, and sometimes it's like that times a million, and it's so hard to make out any one message, because they're all loud, they're all strong, and they're all coming through on top of each other, and I'm picking up on them, but they're not talking long enough or in coherent enough sentences for me. They're just like negative energy. It's like, all right, psychic attack, okay. And then Ascension, healing, transmutation. Like, all right, like, it's just like, oh my goodness. So I'm sharing this with everybody because, like I said, you could be experiencing your own physical symptoms, Ascension symptoms right now, regardless. I mean, the Schumann resonance has been off the charts lately, either super quiet or totally charged up. There's been a lot going on. We've had the Stargate, and then the new moon is tomorrow. Also an excellent day to do the meditation, so I highly suggest doing it. And don't worry about me, I'm going to get this under control real quick. And it may still happen, but it's not going to be as bad, because I know what it is now. I just figured it out, and I can deal with it and keep myself clear and do my own special meditations to make this go better for all of us. And I'm sharing this with everybody just to, like everything else that I do and I share, it's sometimes very intimate details of my life, because it's important for other people to recognize things that may not connect unless you're told. For me, I had to figure it out. Piecing things over time, validating each step of the way until there's a picture there that I could look at and I go, well, this is a whole picture of information of validated pieces to make an understanding of fill in the blank. Now today it is the either bruises or welts or what would be bites and all of, that sort of thing that is not coming from the outside. Unpacking this little ditty has been fun. I'm just glad they're not all over my face, although my face is really itchy. It's like a weird sensation. It's not like the same sensation as the rest of my body, and I think it's just because there's different energy going on with the third eye compared to what goes on maybe in the body with the different energy centers, but it feels more like an icy hot kind of itching or weirdness. Like my skin is filled with icy hot, whereas the rest of my body feels just like hot. And then those spots where I have the welts feel burning, itching, just like a bite. Just like a bug bite, but it's not. It's energy. And I hope that you don't experience this stuff. It's the same thing with eczema. Like, eczema is another perfect example of skin eruptions and itchiness and all sorts of stuff that happens because of energy being trapped. Anyway, I just thought of that. This is about the cord cutting and about actually mending and reworking the energy back into the body after you're getting your energy back. So it's really intense energy. I want to really make everybody understand why it does this. So if this happens with you, don't let it freak you out like, oh, this is a bad thing. It's not. It's like you're pulling back energy from whatever cord or cords that you're cutting, and I suggest that you do it for whom and whatever you need to do it for, and just bang it out. The more you do it on top of itself, the better, because you're acclimating the body with transmutation. So it's like, instead of just going on 100-mile trip with your car, you're doing 10-mile trips with your car. And it's just better to maybe just do 100-mile trip with your car. So I suggest doing the cord cutting meditation as many times as you need to, as you're guided. And again, if it's a Pandora's box of like circumstances from different angles that you've identified, and you're going to do a mass cord cutting with, I guess just understand that that's attaching to, obviously, more than one person. If it's multiple experiences, there's a good chance it's attaching to more than one person. So then, and that's multiple energy cords that are coming back, and the energy coming back into the body, and the body having to regulate that. So sometimes what feels really uncomfortable could be the shadow of something, negative turning positive. Doesn't necessarily mean that oh, this horrible thing is happening to me or with my body. Yeah, it could be really uncomfortable, but when you know what it is, it's so much easier to accept it and work with it and understand it, instead of trying to pull it apart and having negative energy towards what's going on, when in fact what's happening is a healing of sorts, because your body is acclimating to improved and more energy, because you're pulling back the energy cord from wherever it was attached to, meaning that you're upping your energy in your body. And when you're doing that in a really intense way, and you're doing that multiple times, or you're just really doing it, and you're pulling that intense cord back into your body's going to react. So sometimes it reacts in a way that comes out on our skin. Sometimes it's our stomach, or a headache, or body aches, or we get diarrhea, or we get what we think is a cold, but it's just energy. It's always energy. It's just what the energy is doing, how it's working, what it's focusing on. But everything is energy, especially in the body. So that's why it's just so important to keep your body as clean and clear as possible, so it's easier to decipher what's going on. And even for somebody as connected as I am, with all of this going on and what I'm doing, I didn't quite understand that this was going to happen. Even though I was told, like, this is going to be really intense, you're going to have to, like, do these different things, and I just wasn't connecting these dots. I wasn't seeing it. But of course, obviously, I was meant to eventually. So here we are. And, you know, I did say this was a real thing, and your body was going to go through stuff. So I did warn us all. But I do doubt that there's many people that are having this reaction. But it could be. So with all that said, and I have shared away, thank you for listening. And again, if you have any questions, I'm putting a forum on my website. You can go ahead and post questions there, or post your experiences there. I hope that you've been enjoying these meditations and they've been helping you and you've been feeling great. I actually, aside from the whatever, eruptions, itchiness, bites, or whatever you want to, the pseudo faux bites that I get, I woke up feeling fantastic. I said I've been feeling great. I woke up feeling great today. Been waking up so early or being up late, and I just nonstop with stuff, but it's been feeling really good. And I just had this overall sense of, the people who did do the meditation yesterday, how great it went for them, and that made me feel really good. And I didn't think a whole lot of it, but it's definitely a real procedure in returning energy to the body. And for the most part, everybody's going to feel really great and be charged, but still have to go through an acclimation. That's why you do it right before you go to bed, so you can kind of get out of the way of this transmutation, this acclimation, this regulation of energy in the body. But I have a different experience than you guys do. You guys have it on one side, and I have it on a completely different side and level as the facilitator. So, but anyway, if anybody has any questions about this stuff, or something's going on with your body and you want to know about it, just reach out to me. I'm available in multiple ways. So I'm online. I'm on. You can email me. You can find me on Instagram. But I would suggest just sending me an email. And if you have any questions, and you can also use the contact on my website. And I guess that's about it, family. I hope you're doing great. Happy new moon tomorrow. We're going to come at you tomorrow with a brand new meditation for the new moon and further transmutation. And I will give an update as to how I've dealt with all this in the next little bit here, these next few hours. So happy, I guess that's Friday, right? Happy Friday to you, and hope you have sweet dreams. And I will see you on the flip side, guys. It is exactly 10:30 p.m. on the Pacific, 22:30 on the 21st. Infinite love and blessings. Don't forget, the key is to create. And I love you already and always. Live in love. Bye for now, guys.